Well, hello everybody, welcome to Minnesota Sports HQ. I'm Ben, and today we're going to be looking at what the Vikings did in the draft. Now, you notice my background's changed a little bit, but the reason for that, well, I'm moving pretty soon. The month of May is going to be pretty crazy for me, so we'll see what that looks like, but that's why everything's off of my wall. So, while my background may be different, quarantine builds, beard is still growing, and nothing's changed about that, that's for sure. But what we're going to be doing today is analyzing the Minnesota Vikings 2020 draft, how I like the fit, how the draft went against some of our rivals, and then of course stating what I think they'll be able to do this season. So starting off, the Minnesota Vikings had 2 first-round picks. They had a bunch of picks total, but 2 first-round picks. We got number 22 from Buffalo in the Stephon Diggs trade. And with that, we picked up wide receiver Justin Jefferson from LSU. Justin Jefferson is a really good slot receiver. Granted, he had some help at LSU with a really good offensive line, really good run game, and other good wide receivers. So he found himself in one-on-one coverage a lot, so he was able to really shine there. In the NFL, it might be a different story, but thankfully we've already got a number 1 wide receiver in Adam Thielen. So hopefully Justin Jefferson can slot in at that number 2 role. That would be great. And I mean, I think he's going to be a really solid pro. A lot of the mock drafts were saying that he would be going in the late teens. So to get him at 22, that was just great. And then from last season, we did make the playoffs, so we had picked 25 as well in the first round. We traded back with the 49ers, so we got their number 31 pick later in the first round, and we also got their 4th and 5th round pick for them to move up 6 spots. So I liked the move. There were a lot of cornerbacks still available, and that was really the other position we really needed. So I was okay with the move to move back. I was actually driving home at this point, so I was happy. I was almost home at the 25th pick, but when we traded back, I knew I'd be able to see the 31 pick. And with that 31 pick, we took Jeff Gladney out of TCU, so we really had a thing for teams that wear purple in this draft. Naturally, we're purple and gold, so both of these guys were in purple in college. Texas Christian has had a few good players come out recently. Jeff Gladney has had a little trouble with the law in the past, but I like his size and what he brings to the team, so I'm pretty happy about that. He ran a 4.48, which is solid for a cornerback, and we really needed cornerbacks after letting our top 3 cornerbacks go. So I was pretty happy with the pick. There were some other guys that I liked for schemes better that we were projected to take. Christian Fulton was still available from LSU. He would have been good for a size corner. And then some other guys that would have been later round picks, but I really did like our first round. We addressed 2 positions of need, and pretty much after that, I just knew we had to go for a tackle and probably some D-line after losing Everson Griffin. So what did we do in round 2? Well, we drafted that tackle I was talking about. We took a guy that a lot of people were saying we were going to draft at number 22. Ezra Cleveland out of Boise State, the offensive tackle there. Blocked for Alexander Madison, our backup running back in college. I do like the fit. He seems pretty agile, and I think we got the right guy with that one. We definitely didn't reach for it at all. So we let Riley Reif play this year, and then let Cleveland develop for a year, and then Cleveland steps up to be the starter with Brian O'Neill on the right. And we're set for tackle for a couple years, at least, I think, about 5-6 years. And then we didn't have a pick for 30 or so picks. And then we went corner again at pick 89, still in round 3. We picked a guy named Cameron Dantzler out of Mississippi State. So to finish off day 2, I was pretty happy with this pick. He hits hard. He's pretty fast. But, I mean, honestly, I just think we wanted to pick a guy with as close a name as Cam Chancellor. So, Cam Dantzler, Cam Chancellor. So, you see the fit there. But Cameron Dantzler out of Mississippi State, just drafting corners, I like it. We certainly need them, to say the least. And then we had another pick in the 3rd round, but we traded back. So the Saints took our pick 105, and we got a fairly early pick in round 4, pick 130, and then we also got their 5th, 6th, and 7th round pick. So that those 2 trades with the 49ers and Saints are what really set us up to have a lot of picks at the back end of this draft. I like the move to move down. I mean, we just need some other guys that can have a chance at cornerback to go, and then after that you can get a D lineman anywhere. I mean, Everson Griffin, well, he was a fairly early pick, but Danielle Hunter was a 7th rounder, and look how good he turned out to be. So that 4th rounder we took from San Francisco. We got the D end out of South Carolina, DJ Wanham. I haven't seen much of this guy, to be honest, but he seems pretty good. Playing in the SEC, he's had to go up against a lot of good tackles that he'll see in the NFL, so I like the experience aspect there. But I really don't know as much about him as I would like. Our next pick in the 4th round from the Saints, we took Baylor defensive tackle, James Lynch. So obviously Matt Rule did a heck of a job with that defense at Baylor last year, and that's really what propelled them to being in the top 10 near the tail end of the year. But James Lynch is really a guy who pushes the pocket back, and in a passing league, that's really what you want, to just kind of disrupt the quarterback a little bit. So I was pretty happy with this pick from what everybody was saying. Also in the 4th round, we drafted Oregon linebacker Troy Dye with our original 4th round pick. And Troy Dye is an interesting pickup. If we're running a 4-3, we have Anthony Barr and Eric Kendricks, who are amazing. But we need that third linebacker. I know we've had Eric Wilson, Ben Gideon. Eric Wilson has done well. Ben Gideon not so much, but Troy Dye could fill a hole there. He's really good at tackling. He led Oregon in tackles in 2 seasons in a row. So I like the pickup there. So hopefully that works out for us. And then we got a 4th round pick next year for one of our 5th round picks this year from the Chicago Bears. So I like the fact, even though we had extra picks, we saved some for next year too. And with one of New Orleans' 5th round picks, we drafted Harrison Hand out of Temple, who's actually a really good player. I'm very surprised he lasted this long. Honestly, from what I've seen, he can definitely play. So now for cornerback, we drafted 3. We had 2 already on the roster that can do okay. Actually 3. Chris Boyd, Mike Hughes, and Holton Hill. So we'll see what we do with those. We'll see if these 3 guys we drafted can come in and contribute immediately. We drafted another wide receiver in KJ Osborne from Miami at the end of the 5th round. And from what I've heard, this is kind of a boom or bust guy, but in the 5th round, that's kind of what you can do. Hopefully, him and Olabisi Johnson can kind of share that wide receiver 4 role, because obviously we have Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, TJ Sharp for that 1-year contract he has. He can be a good wide receiver 3, and then we have those 2 young guys kind of settling in for that wide receiver 4 spot. And then we got another 5th round pick for next year and a 7th round pick this year for our 6th and 7th this year, and those went to the Ravens. So we traded back there and drafted another tackle in the 6th round, Blake Brandell out of Oregon State. From what I've seen, it's kind of a scheme fit. So, I mean, it's a little bit of a risk. You can never have too many options. Injuries happen, and certainly if any of those things happen to Riley Reef or Brian O'Neill, we need some tackles. So I'm not upset with drafting another tackle here. And then also in the 6th round, we drafted Josh Metellus from Michigan. He's a safety. We don't really need a safety, but you can always have backup guys for injuries and whatnot. I mean, I just really hope we re-sign Anthony Harris, or else I'm going to be ticked we didn't draft Antoine Whitfield Jr. in the 2nd round. But that's how it goes. So we really need to sign Anthony Harris, because obviously Harrison Smith is locked down. He'll be there for a while. And then in the 7th round, we drafted some guys. Michigan State defensive end Kenny Willekes. From what I've watched of him, obviously Minnesota hasn't played Michigan State in a while, but I've heard he's pretty solid, and I mean, us in 7th round DNs have a history of paying off, so I can't really complain. And then we also drafted Nate Stanley out of Iowa, kind of a Kirk Cousins type guy. Doesn't really move a lot in the pocket, but can if he really needs to. Just a developmental guy. Can play if you have an injury, but I mean, it's okay. I'm all right with it. We drafted another safety in Brian Cole II in the 7th round at 249. We need some help in the secondary, so I'm not mad about it. And then with our last pick, we drafted Kyle Hinton out of Washburn. He's a guard, so interior offensive lineman. We've had a lot of injury problems there. So I guess this means, based on the fact we didn't draft an early guard, that we're still planning on Pat Elflein playing this year, which I'm okay with. I think last year was just kind of a little harsh for him. But from what I've seen, the Vikings draft was rated really highly by most analysts. The Baltimore Ravens killed it this year. I liked what the Bengals did. They got some good players. Miami got some good players, but Cincinnati and Miami weren't really ready to compete. And if we look in the division, the Lions not really feeling what they did. They got DeAndre Swift, they needed a running back, so that wasn't too great. The Bears was okay. The Packers was absolutely atrocious. Why would you trade up to draft Jordan Love when you just made it to the NFC Championship game? I have no idea what they were thinking with that. And then drafting a 5th round running back in the 2nd round. Okay, Green Bay, I don't know what you're doing. They got Kamal Martin, so I was ticked with that. Minnesota Gopher guy. But some other Gophers got drafted, which was cool to see. Antoine Winfield and Tyler Johnson went to Tampa Bay. Chris Williamson went to the Giants. Kamal Martin went to the Packers. And Carter Coughlin went to the Giants as well. Now, the Vikings have claimed a lot of undrafted players. And apparently there's some good ones. Certainly some corners in there, as well as some interior offensive linemen. So it'll be a cool training camp to see what we do. Honestly, the thing that determines if we're going to be successful this year is those corners. Our defense up front and linebackers are solid. Our O-line is okay, but our wide receivers, running back, tight ends, quarterback are good. So offensive line and secondary is our issues for this year. If our draft picks took care of that, perfect. If not, well then, we're going to have to do it all over again next year. Now, we got some extra picks for next year, so I'm not mad about that. But, this will be a make or break year for the Vikings system. Because I know we extended Kirk, but, if we don't start to see some improvement this year with the offense and defense and team cohesion, I don't really like Kirk as our long-term solution, and we should probably draft a guy in a couple years to replace him. But I thought it was a really good draft. We fixed some holes, and I think we can make a run at it next year, but that's classic Minnesota optimism right there, so we'll see if I'm right. But that's all I have for today. Signing off, Minnesota Sports HQ. Have a good one, everybody.